Let's rock and roll. Hi there. I hope you can hear me. Yes, my microphone seems to be fully operational. Okay. Hi there. My name is Jarek. I'm the Archon CEO, and as always, welcome to the live AMA. If you have any questions, please drop them. I'm happy to answer them. Before we move on to presentation, I have a loads to show you. One of those things gonna be plenty miniatures. We received the Heroes 3 miniatures, so I'm gonna be showing them in a second, just in a second. But before that, what's on today's agenda is the caves. That's something the team was the last couple of weeks in quite intensively working on, and I have a something to show you, some concepts and some the guidelines, style guidelines. What else? We have plenty miniatures to show you. I have a spruce to show you, and so on. So I see there's some questions regarding the Heroes, Might and Magic about the tower expansions. The team actually prepared a few cards for me. Let me just move the miniatures away. So there's a few things which the tower will introduce, and one of them is a School of Magic. Let me just change the minicam. I've got a new tool here, so it might be I need to learn it basically, but it's allowing me to actually change the camera quite quickly, and I'm gonna have to won't be much hassle. So in general, tower will introduce a new School of Magics. That's how it's called, yes. And then additionally, you have a new statuses. Well, the type of the unit is changed, the upgraded unit is changed with it as well. Now, if you have more questions about it, the team is on the chat, so they will be able to answer. So in general, it's ranged, so each change from the range, as you see. Okay. So the team is here as well, so they're quite happy to, they will be able to answer any questions you have regarding those things. Okay, let's go. Motu Battleground big box as well, please. At the moment, we don't have plans for anything like that. I don't have nothing actually in this presentation to show you regarding the battleground. And custom dice, we are currently working on the custom dice in the background, so that might be available at some point this year still. Stickers. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Any infos about Titanomachy? Not this week. Just leave it for. I just left this one for next week because I've got so much stuff to actually talk about this week. Then it'll be easier for me to actually get those things prepared for next week. Right. Let's maybe move on to presentation because I want to show you all the things which I prepare for you this week. So where are we going to start? If any more questions come up, I will start to answer them. We have some questions from Discord. So there is no date at the moment for Titanomachy. We are working on it, and it's going to be available when it's ready. It means that the team needs to. We have to make it right. So before we start tooling and make any miniatures and models, at the moment it's scheduled and planned to be released next year, and this is what we're aiming at. Titanomachy is kind of quite important project, I think, because it will involve quite a lot of tooling, and it's something which normally we don't take that much risk in terms of making product, but this time around I think it's gonna be worth it to actually do it. So will there be any miniatures coming with the Enter the Dragons expansion? No, there is no miniatures with Enter the Dragon expansion. It's a solo. That expansion is just additional rules which we wanted to add it in to the game, but without making it too large, too big to start with. So yeah, that's the whole concept for that. I'm free. Chat, do you plan making basic scenarios for 4 players? Now we have only 2v2. I did ask Jakub about it today. He mentioned that we do have some plans. So that's it. That's it. I mean, I wasn't. I cannot tell you more about it. But I think what is important about the Heroes of Might and Magic 3, it's extremely important project for us. Extremely important project to the company anyway. So it will be a huge focus once we release the game, because it needs to be successful as well in the in retail, and that's the whole plan for this to be done. From Deusler, would we like to see the airship before the closing pledge managers in order to decide how many million we as a group would like to purchase? Follow up: if we spring for several airships now, when the airships game comes out, will be they will be useless, or it will feel like it was a good investment. Definitely you'll be able to use those airships in the game. I know the sculptor already start sculpting the ship, because I was making the clear plastic stand designed for that. So I did that at the beginning of the week. So I think maybe next week I should have some whip to share. The whole concept is, as I mentioned on one of the live chats and streams, is that we will be having the airship will be combined out of 3 pieces, and the middle piece could be extended for 2 sections, 3 sections, 4 sections, make it even larger, bigger ship. And the other core concept, which I asked my sculptors to do, is everything on that ship is airship is add-on, which means you don't have to glue it in. So it's like, you can make it plain, or you can glue in all those components, and we will take it from there. And what I mean by that, once we have a core, we can build it around it. Yeah. So for Titanomachy, those other languages will be available. That's for sure. Yes. Our games, we release games definitely in the languages like English, German, and Spanish. That's 3 main languages you have to release your game in Europe. Polish, we did Polish for, and we still do for Battleground. Battleground is actually quite good projects for the company, because it started really slow in terms of translations, and we managed to work around and work through with our translation companies. So that was actually quite interesting to get, and to get team to learn the workflow of translating everything with external companies. And after doing that one for 1 year, we now quite confident that any other product we're gonna be doing, it's gonna be translated on time. And yeah, so we're confident. So that's why we can actually make more translations, and then make sure that product will be, the game will be released with a normal schedule instead of being delayed. Yeah. There's lots of questions on the chat, or at least talks. Archon logo sticker in general would be welcome. That's actually that's actually interesting. We are in the process of redesigning logo. I mean, redesigning the brand anyway, and that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah, Jakub is correct. So we have a scenario editor. I don't think you will be ever bored playing. It's kind of that board game. It's like the video game designed to be kind of sandbox. So it allows you to create these scenarios and edit scenarios and play really many variations. Probably unlimited number of variations. So it is the sandbox board game. But I think that's the we couldn't do any other way. at the end of the day, it's a Hero 3, so it needs to be that way. Okay. With the airship, can we have a Robin clan, a pirate ship crewed by Roblin clan? That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Plenty. I have about 5-6 pages to show you, to take you through something which you might be surprised about it. Some technological changes. Something I want to I'm working personally on, so I'm gonna be talking about that just at the end of the stream. Right. Let's have a look what we have here more. Oh yeah. Last week, actually 2 weeks ago, we uploaded our 8th CNC machine. It's, you know, the services we do, like manufacturing services for other companies, it's really pick it up. It's quite large now. I mean, the business, it's just becoming something which is profitable, and we're getting many questions, and we are still at the level when we have to say to many customers that we cannot take that much work because we have our own projects, first of all, which is the most important, and then we have external projects which we at this stage we basically pushing external one, which we're pushing away from us because we cannot take more. Now this is our still old building, so this is old walls, and you know this building is actually 150 years old. In this building there used to be the trains were going here for maintenance, so that building was adopted many years ago for doing something else and doing offices and manufacturing purposes. But 130-40 years ago, it was a massive train maintenance station in Schneidermill in Piła. So that's old building, and we're actually in the process of getting a new building set up. We should have windows. We should have windows done just in a few weeks' time, so our picture gonna look much better. But currently, we're looking at moving there roundabout at the end of the year, and we want to move it because this building, the current building as we are, it just is overloaded and packed with maximum capacity in terms of electricity, machines, and shop floor in general. So, and we have to expand it for more manufacturing and more manufacturing for us, more manufacturing for other companies. So that is one of the reasons why we decided to actually get a brand new office building and so on. Just a reminder that Home 3 Pledge Manager is open. So you may go to the Gamefound page and check it. And just a reminder as well, we have a new blog post on Archon Studio. So you may go there and see. You may go there and see the latest blog written by Jakub, by our team. So yeah. Right, but that's the blog. That's the title for the blog. So you can find out a little bit more about the Inferno expansion. So I got full explanation about the Inferno expansions. We will be doing these blogs for every single faction. So stay tuned. If your favorite faction, if you wait for your favorite faction, it will take a little bit more time. But yeah, it's gonna be there. All right. Yep, we do have experience now. It was actually painful, but we know exactly how to work with external companies. Right. Okay, let me just move to the next slide, which is lights, camera, action, which means I'm going to be switching to my minicam. So we've got the samples. The samples were sent to us from the board game components manufacturer. As you might know, we make a lot of miniatures, but we make miniatures for wargaming and such, but not for the board games, not yet. So we have to have external manufacturer. And I have here samples. These samples were made using a final files. So this is what we might expect in terms of the miniatures. Obviously, all the miniatures will be assembled for you, and so on, so on, so on. I'm not quite sure whether this is, the focus is basically at this level. So, and I'm happy to show you every single miniature. So those miniatures, you have seen it before or on a Kickstarter. Usually what we do is we make them, like 3D print them, paint them, and so on, so on, so on. But when it comes to actually manufacturing, they need to go through several different changes. So, well, small, tiny changes, obviously. Some bits need to move, and some other bits needs to be realigned for the manufacturing process that is used in the external manufacturer. Archangel. And I'm quite happy with the samples. I'm really, really happy with the samples. Let me just maybe move my hand. I should be able to see more. If you have any questions about the miniatures, about the process, how this is made and stuff like that, I was actually in a factory many years ago in China just to see how the PVC manufacturing is going. It's kind of difficult process because you wouldn't be able to make that in Europe. We have completely different regulations, and it will be quite difficult to make it in Europe in the way that it's made in China. So we have to come up with our own process and our own manufacturing ways of the board game components like miniatures, which I think I know how to do it. Obviously we have many of them. This is not only, that's only a few samples I show you. Happy. Let me show you step by step. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna be happy with the minis. We are not doing anything less than is the current standard. I think we're going even above, much above actually, the current miniature standard in terms of those things. We basically don't go into manufacturers to tell them to make, like, cheap minis. We're just basically investing into this project even more, making sure that the quality of miniatures are or is spot on. Oh look, Beholder. Funny thing about the name. As you might know, the that name is kind of trademark. Then, some reason so you've seen that miniature on the Kickstarter page before or during the Kickstarter was painted one, and we have now a final form. So it's worth to mention that we are currently in target to be delivered towards the end of the year, and the update today is basically to tell you that I think if you go back to one of those presentations I showed you, what was the timeline, you will find out that we actually, according to plan, so we should have them in May. It's May now. I mean, it's end of the May, but we have them now. There was delay of 2 or 3 weeks from the manufacturer to actually deliver those miniatures to us. At the moment, there is no risk of delaying. Now, we're gonna have another rounds of meetings with a manufacturer just to make sure that we know much more now about what needs to be done and everything else. Translation started, by the way, so as per plan. In fact, I think we started all the translations at once. But as you might know, we said that some of the translations will be done later, like 6 months, or delivered 6 months later. It might not be the case. We will see where we are. Maybe they're gonna be delivered in the first wave as well. Oh, look, the goblin. Yeah, trademark, by the way, so the trademark is Ubisoft Archon. I hope it's not boring. My voice is sometimes. Right. Kremlin, yeah. Yeah, and very important bit about the color. Obviously, this is not the final color of the miniatures, right? You have to bear in mind this is just a pre-production sample, so they were just made in a simple one dye color. They're gonna be done nicely. Is there any chance to see shaded miniatures? At this level, no. However, because we have those samples now, we're gonna be requesting from our manufacturer to do pre-shading for us as well, just to send us some examples of pre-shade miniatures. So not at this stage, but definitely yes, at some point before the pledge manager is being closed. Here we got another model. We got another model. Pretty good set. And if you're going to be at the UK Game Expo, which I'm going to be there, which I completely forgot to prepare some slides for you about it. So yeah, do me a favor, just post in the comments the stand number. I don't know, I had on my mind about it, but to make actually one slide just to tell you about the UK Game Expo. But if we you're going to be there, just this one, the arm wasn't glued in. If you're going to be at the UK Game Expo, just come by to our stand. We will have some samples. We have some gameplays. We're gonna have some demo tables to play. So yeah. Here we go, heroes. More heroes. And my favorite one. Right. Yeah, so the stand is 1360. I don't think so. We compared those ones to the 3D files. What you might see here, the camera is what it is, so you might not see detail, but I am very picky about the miniatures and detail on those miniatures. Really picky about, and I'm not the greatest fan of PVC whatsoever. So you should know that I'm not the greatest fan of PVC. Are they the quality of this, like hips? No, they won't be. They never will be. It's quite difficult to make this quality of miniatures with such amazing and tiny micro detail. This is hips miniature for our other projects in PVC. So there's some sacrification in terms of you have to sacrifice a little bit of quality in terms of PVC. But are they good? I think they're good. I think they're good. So you don't have to be worried about it. They're gonna be above, much more above the anything you have in terms of PVC miniatures and models. Okie dokie, okie dokie. Let me move back to my facecam maybe. Look at this, I got this fancy stuff. Let's go through a little bit of questions that we have here. Yeah, unfortunately, yes. That's the beauty of Kickstarter, and we need to make sure that is the masterpiece. But frankly, the team was working, and it's still working extremely a lot on this project. So I think it's gonna be one of the best. No, I think it's gonna be the best board game we've made. Let's go here. Let's clear this one. Okay, drop your questions. I will try to answer them once we go. In terms of Deus Ex, so we've been working on miniatures models. Just wanted to show you a few what we have actually cut, and then I've got a few models already assembled and spruce to show you. We'll have to make a little bit of room here. Miniatures model, yeah. So the team is obviously working on it. No delay, no downtime whatsoever. We're looking at maybe with current rate, we're looking at finishing models about July, May, June, July, round about July to finish all the models, sculpting wise, and maybe majority of the stuff will be done in already pre-cut and ready for CNC. So this project is going very, very rapidly and very, very fast. In fact, the pledge manager is not open, but we have currently 10 tools or 11 tools even made, and so out of 30 needed for this project. So it's really a lot. We are much faster and much better positioned than we were in any other previous projects we had. So yeah. And the most important bit about it is that the quality of spruce and everything else improved a lot in the last couple of weeks. We changed the process again a little bit, so we managed to eliminate many tiny micro defects on a spruce, which I didn't really like it, and we needed to improve because we have a project that might be under our hood very, very soon that requires even more quality yeah, than we actually currently doing. So Ogre, we have a Doppelganger, we have I think, I don't remember, Enchantress, I think it's called, another Golem. This model is actually quite large. It's a big model like that. So all those models being cut and ready to go for engineering, or they are currently engineering, or in the tools are being cut. So I should be able to show you the models I think in next couple of weeks. Let me check the questions. Oh yeah. Well, we won't be able to do that at this stage whatsoever, and unfortunately this is what we have. I mean, my suggestion is, if you don't want to now, the pledge manager will be open for some time now, so if you have to save the additional funds, just don't close it at the moment and then wait till, you know, a couple months. It's not much, it's around about 40 euro I think for all the package. So yeah, I would just suggest maybe to wait a little bit longer and don't close pledge manager if you really want to have this a big box. We needed to make it like a full deal. I mean, I think I did explain it, the reasoning, in the last video, and that's what it is. So in terms of pledge manager, the Deus Ex pledge manager with rapid shipping is going to be opened on 29th of May, so next week, Monday. we did the survey, we ran the survey with you, we asked the questions, what you want, and we managed to actually get an answer from you. So there will be some items available in a pledge manager, which they also gonna be in rapid shipping. You'll be able to get a Crowned Stronghold, fantasy core set, fantasy customization bits, some animal companions, and other stuff. So yeah, we listen to you. We're gonna add those things. Hope you're gonna like it. And yeah, so again, 29th of May 2023. So next week, Monday, we are starting with a Deus pledge manager. Yes, I think it should be available soon. It should be on update. I think I don't know. I hope I'm not spoiling much, but I think the big box will be designed in the way of Pandora box. I didn't spoil too much, but just stay tuned. Update will be, soon on that. So on the Kickstarter, we see there's many different options for arms and head per model. Does this mean we get one of each, or we have more options, twice the same arm? Yes, you have several options for arms and so on. I think if you have something twice too, this means you're gonna get exactly 2 of the same arms, or times 4. This means you're gonna get 4 of the same pieces. So you will be able to assemble the way you want. I've got the miniatures to show you in a second, which once I move to the Deus layer. I've got some painting. Actually, I think it's the next slide to explain you very well. So the question was, how do we have, now we have to see Deus layer on the Kickstarter. So do we plan to do any multi-pose miniatures? It's a kind of tricky question, because the multi-pose are extremely complex, and they only going for a like myself, for customers like myself. So this means hardcore wargamers, let's say, which they want to use many options. I actually prefer nowadays to make semi multi-pose. When I say semi multi-pose, is like Games Workshop miniatures, when you have body, arms, everything else in one piece. And then you have options like arms, not one piece, but basically when you have like in one pose, and then arms, heads, and many other bits and bobs to add into the miniature to make it unique. And just to show you something, that's the golem. We have a printed version already. That's the golem you're going to get in a set, which actually going to get 2 golems. But you're going to get so many different elements and so many pieces that allow you to create different variety golems. I mean, they look different, right? And to be honest, this is the same body. So the body is exactly the same. What we change here on these models, you have the different heads, and then you have different arms. And that actually gives you a much different variety. And different, you can obviously use any combinations of these elements. Now this lantern, this element here, is a additional element that could be attached to any of those golems. And the stairs, I don't think so that we let it. So that's a separate element. This is what I really wanted to show you, that the multi-pose in our kind of idea is that you have a common body and then many options to actually assemble your miniatures. And this is kind of, in my personal opinion, much easier and much better for RPG players to actually assemble their miniatures. Okay. Let me show you more. Do you have miniature, which I'm very surprised about? Here's the other example. So it's a same body miniature, but then you have many different options of arms. right? So yeah, only the leg is the same, but when it comes to actually arms, heads, and additional elements, those miniatures are completely different. So let's give you additional variety. Then we have another miniature here. And another miniature here. So all 4 miniatures, they look differently. Right, so that's kind of our idea of multi. In terms of old school, in terms of old school, like, you know, I have a leg separately, body separately, arms on a joint bolts. I don't think this is necessary at this stage. I don't really think. Right, not for the fantasy miniatures and models, because yeah, that's many companies actually, even Games Workshop, moving away from that. Those items you added are available at retail. Please add the items which never made it into retail. I think everything made it to retail. I think there's some additional elements which I haven't shown you maybe on that screen, but I think everything we have in the retail. I'm not quite sure which items we don't have it, or they're gonna be available this on the next wave of retails. But yeah. I'll check with the team. I'll check that with the team. What exactly we could potentially, you know, add. What wasn't. But I think the team told me that everything is already in retail. Oh yes. Oh yes. There's I will leave it as a surprise. Yes. I will leave it as a surprise. This is happening. So yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. Jakub already gave you an answer to that one. Okay. Fine. That is a good point. And that is a good point. So I'll have a chat with my team. What exactly could be added in? And I think they should be added in. I think they didn't come up on the survey, so that's one of the reasons why we might not have them. But Jakub just take the screenshot and send it to the team in terms of who is working on the pledge manager. Oh, let me show you something. Caves. So I want to have a chat with you about caves and about themes we plan to do, about what exactly is coming to Dungeon Lasers at the end of the year. We have quite a lot of stuff we have been working on. And the caves is one of the, I think, bigger projects for us, because it's going to be introduction of new stuff, new engineering bits and bobs, which I'm actually quite passionate about it. So you can see 2 themes here. Actually, it's going to be 3. Let me just start it with beginnings. That's the core. So what we have in the core we have 3 cave themes. We have a curved walls. So this is what you are asking for. Pre-painted option. Yes, we're going to be making a new technological manufacturing line for pre-painted terrain. And the set's going to be kind of bigger, so we're not gonna go for smaller sets, but they're gonna be a little bit larger sets. There's a reason behind that, and one of the reasons is basically making sure the packaging goes according to a shipping and so on. It's crazy because the packaging is very, very expensive nowadays. In some cases it's more expensive than the plastic we use to make those things. So we will be making bigger sets, and obviously for you it's gonna be much better, because it's not bigger sets gonna be obviously better deal. Okay. So that's the team. I want to introduce the team quickly. So we have to the team Krzysztof. I was mentioning Krzysztof several times. He is the leader, the lead designer for the art style and everything around it. Dungeon Lasers Caves. And then we have 3 more artists, Bartosz, Vivien, and Marcin. So entire team is gonna be focused on the art style and everything else around it. So where we aiming at, and this is what Krzysztof prepared, we are looking at the fantasy, that's the basically fantasy realm and art style. You have Arcane, World of Warcraft, and then Darkest Dungeon. This is where they sit in terms of stylized. I won't pronounce that word, that's for sure. And then realism. So we want to be round about that level here, with something between the Magic the Gathering and Warhammer, in terms of the realism. So that really hasn't changed in Dungeon Lasers in terms of terrain. We were sitting here, so we're not going to be doing anything additionally or anything which is, you know, we're not going to be moving the style to the previous sets of terrains, right? So that's one thing. What else we have here? Okay, let me just go through. So caves. This is again prepared by Krzysztof. So the idea behind the caves is just the organic caves. Like you've seen it. You probably played many video games, or you know, seen similar products and so on. So in the caves, we're not gonna be doing anything crazy. What you have to bear in mind is that we will have several different type of walls. So they're not gonna be squared anymore. So by squared, I mean, I will show you one of the pictures in a second, or one of the concept. They on the top, they're not gonna be squared off. They're gonna be actually with full detail. So it needs to look like a cave, right? So Krzysztof gathered many different kind of, you know, inspiration pictures just to go around it. But that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to go for the environment, which is the pure cave environment. We will have some islands, and that's, I want to keep it for later, but we're going to have some internal islands, which, you know, allows you to create a large volume of caves with the islands inside. So that's new. That's definitely new, which you haven't seen it yet. And we already designed it. So the guys, our engineering team is currently working on it, just to make sure we can place it and playing around how this will look and how this will work. Props, plenty props with stone and things like that. Okay. So, oh, thank you, Jakob, for mentioning this one. Yes, Bartosz is a lead for He-Man projects. So this is only WIP, just to show you. As you can see, those things are being closed fully, but we're going to be working on them to make sure they're not being fully closed. You're going to have some openings. You're going to have some other bits and bobs. Ignore those circles. Those circles is only indicating for us that you can actually place the model or miniature there. So just to make sure that 50mm model will go on the floor, or 25mm will go on the floor. And again, team 2D team is Krzysztof, and then rest of the team. And that's what we meant. That's what we meant by not squaring it. So it is basically there needs to go. This is the old design. So all design for anything which was Dungeon Lasers was basically blocked in those blocks. I'm calling them bounding boxes because they are bounding boxes. You cannot go above the bounding boxes when you design the models miniatures, because then it will collide with the other one. But in terms of caves, we are planning to make this one much more organic and much less engineering, if you know what I mean. So visually it should be pleasing to your eyes, and on a table they won't be looking like an army of, you know, clone the caves thingies, walls. Right. And then we also want to do some subtypes. So that's gonna be more related to something we want to do other than as a separate, maybe like a super stretch goal, when you get a set of things, like a set of spider nests, and then everything like several sprues of additional walls, ties, floor tiles, maybe some eggs, maybe some elements, which are going to be part of this set. And we wanted to make it like 3 of them, 3 different subtypes for the cave. So you may go for just for the cave itself because you don't want anything else. But obviously those probably going to be stretch goals or super stretch goals. We need to see how many components we want to incorporate in caves. Again, the team. The second theme, which I mentioned, we planning to do 3 themes. The second theme is basically the demonic dungeon. So a pure dungeon, which is you taken from, I don't know, some dungeon really crawler Diablo-ish theme, with all the props, with all the walls around it. So you can use your imagination. That's gonna be second large set. So the first set is just the caves. The second set will be the demonic dungeon. Obviously, you will be able to, you know, get 2 sets, and they will blend it in both between each other. We're still thinking how to do it and how to make sure the connection between them is smooth and fluent. But that's the second theme we plan to do. And that's one example of actually curved wall. So you would see the curved wall. Only one downside for the curved wall is basically you won't be able to place a 50mm base if you're going to make a very narrow corridor. But we see caves not like a narrow corridors. We see them like a much more like an open space, with some tiny small elements inside there, and that's what we're aiming at. I have some, in my engineering program, I have some examples of how to assemble and how it will look, but it's too raw to actually show you because it's just the square blocks with no detail, and maybe not, you know, maybe not pleasing to actually to the eye. But once we have a little bit more 3D elements, we will show you how to join together, how to connect together. So, and then again, you're gonna have like tall walls and the short walls as well. So something you haven't seen it here is basically, well, at the moment we're only showing you tall walls, but we're also gonna be, this one is actually short, but we're also gonna have both walls in equal quantities. So, you know, it will allow you to create exterior the boundaries of your cave, and then every other wall inside could be a short wall. And then the third one is actually, we call this at the moment Inside of the Beast. So I don't know, I think it's Inside of Tarask. But it's something grotesque, it's something living walls, horror-ish, whatever you come up with. Basically, if you think that you can go inside the Tarask, this is how the inside of the Tarask will look. Obviously, it's a bit mutated. This is one of the concept and idea for one of the, again, curved wall. So that will allow you to create, again, we will try to also make this interconnection between you go into the caves, you do stuff in the caves, and then you move into the demonic one, and then after demonic one, you go inside the beast, and you have your campaign. And as I mentioned, every single theme is separate, so you can get them individually if you want, and so on. The question is, can you connect the caves to the sewers? Obviously, yes. So we're going to be using exactly the same system of DNL connection. So that these tiles are basically the size of normal tiles. The side of the tiles, the wall tiles, will connect to the other ones. So there is no limitation in terms of using what we have now with the new stuff. Okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think we've been talking about this one for some time, and was idea from one of the artists to actually do that, because it sounds good, and I think it only sounds good, it looks good. So something new and fresh. And we have obviously the team. And then in terms of actually miniatures and models, because I haven't mentioned this one, there will be optional only to get additional miniatures and models, which gonna be a thematic. We don't know what exactly and what to add it in. If you have some ideas, please drop in the comments. But definitely in terms of actually doing Inside the Beast, we were thinking about, you know, the monsters like Spawn or Chaos Spawns, or, you know, those things which basically you will find out inside, like worms, large overgrown worms and such. So this is what we plan to do that. Now, obviously, all those things will have its own props. So these props actually will, you'll be able to use in any other Dungeon Lasers terrain. So the props are interchangeable in our solution, in our terrain. So yeah, some nice props from here could be used to any other terrain you have it already in your collection. What else on those things? Yeah, the miniatures. I was mentioning miniatures. We're not gonna be adding any. We're not gonna be adding any miniatures in the stretch goals. So the Kickstarter will be mainly focused on making terrain. And when I say making terrain is, yeah, just to make sure that we have, the props, the huge number of props, the huge number of different standalone elements. That's the whole idea. But you will be able to buy some miniatures separately, which they're gonna be just for that specific theme. So if you like the theme and you think you could build your campaign around it and you need some bosses and minions, then we will have options to actually buy them individually as a separate purchase. But again, we're not gonna be adding any stretch goals, miniature stretch goals in this Kickstarter. We will have another now Kickstarter for just for miniatures alone. So yeah, that's what it is. So the cases are happening, and that will be all of my presentation for you today. Is there anything I haven't mentioned about it? Yeah. Okay. So I mentioned pre-painted. Is a new thing I want to develop, which I believe it should work, and it will work, because I will make it. I will make it happen. I will make it working. The thing is that there will still be, the product, the walls will still be on spruce. You will have to just cut them out from the spruce, but I want them to be pre-painted, at least 5-6 different colors, and then shading, which should give you a much better quality than you will have now currently on a market. And I should have this process ready for samples. So I believe that when we start shipping out Deus Lair, or maybe just before Deus Lair, we should have the first pre-painted samples that will be shipping out to reviewers. And obviously I will be also showing them and sharing with you those things. What else? Curved walls are the next. Once I have 3D elements, I will show you exactly how they work, because with the curved walls you can build the round even rooms for small ones and big ones, and then they obviously connect with the straight walls, and so on. In terms of straight walls, they're not gonna be as straight as you can see on some of the concepts here. When you look from the top, they're gonna be a little bit out of boundaries, so this means out of the bounding box. We need that, because otherwise we won't have the good, nice, design. And the islands, something I will be showing you as well in the next presentation once I'm ready. I need to make sure that everything works, and if it works, we will, push this idea forward. Okay. I like it too. I like it too as well. We haven't discussed this one, whether the miniatures will be going with the bestiary. We might be doing the bestiary just for print and play, rather than actually printing anything. Oh yes, we will have, obviously, once we shipped out the Deus Lair, so 2024 will be the miniatures Kickstarter, which is happening. Miniatures Kickstarter. Obviously, once the Deus Lair is shipped, we will go back and make another great Kickstarter just for the miniatures itself. So we're gonna need your help anyway, because we will need you to give us ideas what you think about it, what you really think about it, and what we should actually, put in the packs and so on. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. To do it, we need a pre-painting technology, which I'm working on it. So next one in line would be, we would be thinking about making some nice looking a dungeon crawl game with all those, you know, great frame. But we need the pre-painting because you see the table doesn't look that good if it's unpainted, right? So it's not like a board game that requires colors and then needs to be eye-catching. And this one, to be eye-catching, it needs to be painted, you know, even shaded or pre-painted, whatsoever. So first, I need to get that technology straight and up and running, and then we can move to, you know, using that system to something like, you know, the game, dungeon crawl game, which could be actually quite good and interesting. I mean, imagine I had an idea now about how to make those tiles. Like, you have a fog of war, right? So you have a fog of war, you go in a room and then you connect different tiles. I have idea on a clip how to actually do it, how to make sure that you can just basically build in the new room. So we could potentially, with this technology, build a dungeon crawl game when every time you go to dungeons, they're gonna be brand new because it's randomly generated. Like in a Diablo, I don't know if you played Diablo, the video game, and you know the dungeons were randomly generated. So here you could do exactly the same. You go from one dungeon from one room to other room, and it's get generated randomly by, you know, drawing a card and or so. But the requirement is that needs to be easy connection. So I cannot lift the entire structure up just to connect anything else. I need to make sure it's just gonna slide in. And I have this sliding clip which allows to actually connect next room, next corridor, or whatever we come up with. So that is in the pipeline as well. So we do quite a lot of, you know, engineering in the background, and you know, thinking about the future products and what we could do and how to implement those things in the future. I think if the ramp parts work well, we see new version of rooms like Warlock Altar. No, we won't be adding them. Definitely not in this Kickstarter, because this Kickstarter is already been planned for 40 tools. I mean, 30, between the 30 and 40 tools, depending on the number of additional components. But if we plan to do that, we're gonna have to increase number of tools. And that for this Kickstarter, I would rather actually add more tools just for the props, which are so valued, because everybody needs, you know, tiny small props. This is where the dungeons actually start to look very, very nice. Then actually making something for the previews. However, I had a chat with the team, and maybe we have to make some of those things available in larger packs in the future, when it comes to repacking, because, you know, which is the stronghold cathedral, the stronghold castle, the large castle, and it's been such a huge success, and only because you have everything in one box, a massive box with a huge number of components. And it seems to be like it's better to actually make those larger things than actually focus on the making small rooms. So what we plan to do in the future, just to see if we could potentially get like a Warlock Altar and repackage this one into much bigger box and add maybe 1 or 2 different brand new sprues just with the round corners, just to give you, like, you know, I want to build a tower, a Warlock tower. Yeah, sure, I'll give you those things. You can basically build it up, and so on, so on. There's also one thing to mention with the new caves, that we're going to be introducing one more tile, the floor tile, which is going to be half wall tile, a floor tile, not the full, but the half. And it is needed for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is that we want to make sure when you connect all your floor tiles, you have some end tile which will break this, you know, this let's say straight lines of flow. So that's one thing. But those tiles could be used additionally just to create a diagonal corridors, so 45-degree corridors. So something new again, which I think might look very, very nice once fully assembled. But stay tuned for that one, because I think it might be quite interesting Yeah. Visually, it's gonna be much better visually to any other sets we have done so far. That's what I think. Any chance of miniatures add-on on set of classic dungeons, creatures, rust monsters, carrion crawl, umber hulk, etc. For the caves? Yes, they're gonna be classic, and they're gonna be classic creatures. At the moment, we're thinking about, I think we're thinking about the goblins, obviously, and then something around the spiders. Obviously, you need the spiders. You go to dungeons, the first what you encounter is basically large spiders, small spiders. I don't know, different variety of those things, and then the next in line are goblins, because goblins and spiders, they like each other a lot. Yeah, the goblins provide food to the spiders, and spiders provide protection to the massive, goblin goblin clan. So, definitely some classic miniatures. So when you look at those things, you might expect classic miniatures. But again, don't be expecting many miniatures. The current target for just miniatures are 2 sprues, which means you have 1 boss and then minions, just for this, subset. But we're not going to be expanding this one because, again, we don't want to focus too much on miniatures. We would rather focus on the terrain and the props than the miniatures. Yes, you have. You may go back and rewatch it in a second. Right, is it true that everyone from Gamefound will receive Kickstarter exclusive? There will be no unique rewards for Kickstarter backers. That's the normal practice. We're not doing anything new or anything that any other company is doing. So you may have options like any other company offering the late pledge option, which allows people who at this moment that didn't have the money to back in to join the train. Obviously, what is, once we have closed the pledge manager, those options won't be available anymore. Yeah, so yeah, that's what we're doing at the moment. Okay, so I will have to be, it's 4 o'clock, so let me just check if there is more questions. Yeah. I agree. I think that something we were talking about many times. I mean, we have designed one game, which I cannot mention at the moment, which was using the system, but it wasn't anything connected with dungeons and lasers, but it wasn't actually using tiles, allowing you to build dungeon, and that was actually quite a good game. Again, that and everything else requires basically pre-painting models and miniatures, and not models. The tiles that needs to be pre-painted. Okay. Yeah, it is just normal practice basically. When we run Kickstarter, you have only 2 weeks to actually pledge, and then if you miss, some guys like at the moment, and especially with the current situation with inflation and where we are and everybody basically in terms of how money are tight, it's better to actually spread out. I mean, very well, because you asked the question about the other stuff, why you have to get big box with all this stuff. I mean, I understand completely that at this stage it's just not, it is what we did. We did what we did, but decision wasn't made because of we wanted to actually get more money out of backers. Decision was made because there was only option available basically to us to make that way. I don't. It's there. We don't. We actually talk about this one as well. Yeah. Only one thing about the Chronicle X is, I don't know if with the current situation, because everything changed over the years with the way the Kickstarters are getting attention, or I don't know if we maybe it sounds funny, but I don't know if we get away with using that many similarities to the characters, if you know what I mean. Okay, so that's only one thing which we need to investigate again. And it's a good point, raise a good point, because recently we've seen many companies fishing at the Kickstarter and then, you know, punishing if somebody's trying to use some likeness of other live or living personas. Okay, and we use quite a lot of them in Chronicle. Yeah, there's a Broforce, because the idea of our project was basically Broforce. I think I pronounced this correctly, this video game, Broforce, which was just basically a parody of the guy. So yeah, we will see. We will see. Chronicle X is, I think it's a game which might be very, very successful in the future once we get it right, and with 2.0. Especially that at the moment we could potentially make it. Thank you. We are as well. And what is the most important bit about it, the team itself, 2D team and 3D team, they're very, very excited about this project. Very excited. So a completely different level of an engagement than we had in the past, really, for that. Oh, I do that every 2 weeks. Sometimes it's 3 weeks, depending on what we do, how we do. But it usually is 2 weeks. Oh, thank you, Derek just answered that question. So you might just sign up to the channel and then watch later, or basically you're gonna get notification. Someone raised the question about the what can be put in the big box. I think everything except the book and except the posters, obviously, but all the others. That's the whole idea. We needed to make it one with everything, basically. Yeah, Broforce. Yeah, that's the one. That's a Broforce. So we use the concept from Broforce, nothing else. I mean, if you go there and look at the characters, they just yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. So I'm not quite sure whether this approach of Broforce approach will work in 2023 or 2024, basically, because it's much more attention now on Kickstarter, basically, what people do. You probably have heard what the Riot closed one of the Kickstarters. We don't want to be in a position of getting, you know, into trouble. Okie dokie. Yeah, the pre-shading, as I found miniatures here, so the pre-shading will be shown. We should be able to get, you know, our manufacturer to do some pre-shading. Only one thing he needs to do, he needs to make sure the miniatures are in a proper color and then make it pre-shading, because those ones I show you, they all in gray, just as a pre-production sample. So that way we can basically make sure that 100% they are in 100% the way they should be. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, campaigns are great when, you know, you get traction, you get lots of people backing in, and so on, so on, so on. But we cannot exclude people who really, you know, because the situation as it is what it is. I mean, at that moment, we're not going to be changing anything, because this is the normal, the current standard of doing the pledge managers and so on, so on, as well. Yeah. Okay. Same here. I hope your weekend will be fine. And just as a reminder, I'm going to be at the UK Games Expo. Stand is 1-360. If you know the password, tell me the password. I will have some surprise for you. What else there? And yeah, if you're going to stay a little bit longer in Birmingham, and after the show you want to go and grab something to drink, I'm quite open, so no problem whatsoever. I think Derek will be there as well, so we're probably going to spend with Derek a few days. talking about plans, futures, and things like that. You might probably find out some good info from me because once we, it's much easier to talk, let's say, face to face about the future projects instead of a camera, because somebody's saying something I shouldn't. But in general, if you're going to be there, say even hello. The team will be there doing demos as well. So yeah. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend. I will see you in 2 weeks, or I will see you on the at the UK Game Expo.